Most of you work, whether you're self-employed or you work for somebody else, if you work for 1 year, do you get anything in passive income? Do you get any retirement income, Social Security credit? No, you're at the end of 1 year. I'm talking about the end of 1 week, you get this. I mean, you set yourself up on a passive income that comes in for the rest of your life. If you never did another thing, you could actually create a passive income through the process of digital delivery. Right? Now, let's take a look at something else. That's why I always look at people that aren't on digital delivery and I think, you really aren't interested in being financially free. Because that's the easiest, simplest way to start your passive income. Third thing is that the income is transferable. That just means that you and I can transfer it to someone else. Now, income is very difficult to transfer. Can a doctor transfer his or her income to their children? No, it's impossible. Right? Can a person who owns a pizza parlor transfer the income to their children? No, they can transfer the asset, but the children can't get the income unless they go in and work. Right? So that you're not transferring a passive income. Let's take a look at the next one. Now, some of these I'm going to be real brief on, but all of these are great standard equipment for this vehicle. Fourth is global. The income is global. What's that mean? Well, you can actually receive income from 86 countries through this business and never have to travel to those countries. Which, if you're not familiar with that, be more than glad to explain that later. Number 5 is the business is inflation proof, and actually it's economy proof. Inflation proof, and the main reason why it's inflation proof is because we have hundreds of thousands of items that have a points and business volume assigned to them, and as the cost of living goes up and those items are increase in cost, as they will around everywhere, including us, our income is geared to a percentage of the business volume. So our income will always match the increase in cost of living. So inflation proof, we don't have to worry about that. Where they'll do things with our jobs, it's always amazing to me when they show the cost of living index and they show our income growth for the year at less than the cost of living index. And that might be 1/4% or 1/2% or even 1%. And we think, well, that's not too bad. We'll just add that up over 50 years. We've lost 50% of our lifestyle. Right? So it does count. Now, it's also recession proof. And what happens with us is because we offer an income source that's a diversification. In other words, 99% of us do this as a second or third or fourth income. Well, that means that people, when income gets tight and people are being laid off and people's jobs security is put at risk or their business security is put at risk, they start looking for other avenues. And we're a perfect one because of several different things that we offer, one of which is that we offer unlimited passive income, those two things, but we also offer a recession-proof income. All right? Now, number 6 is that the income, the cost of doing business has a low startup cost and it has a low maintenance cost. Compared to other businesses, and I own a lot of businesses. I just did a remodeling at my resort in Australia, and we dropped about $4 million into the project. It's just a little remodeling thing. I thought, you got to be kidding me. I mean, that's a lot of money to spend on doing some paint and some different things. And we added a couple of rooms and stuff. But the point is this: that maintaining that place every single month, has a certain amount of cost. Okay, it's a heck of a lot more than we would ever imagine having to spend to maintain our business. Our business is in the hundreds at max. The other businesses, I remember when I worked for the restaurant. I was the manager, and we had to do $20,000 in business a month to get to break even. Right? So the first $20,000 paid for all of the stuff that was going on, the rent, the overhead, the employee, all that kind of stuff. $20,000 to break even. After that, we could start making a profit. Right? Here, I just showed you an example. If you're on Ditto doing 100 points, you don't have to do any other business. You're receiving an income. I know it's not a lot, $100 a year, but you're in the black. Right? Because once you set up your Ditto, if you don't do any other business operations, then you're making a profit. Right? So because of even if we build around the country, a lot of us love to jump on planes and fly and build our communities all over the country. And the reality is, it still costs a lot less than anything else. A normal everyday restaurant, small restaurant, would cost more to maintain than our business does in its biggest size. Okay. Which brings me up to it has a flexible time schedule. Flexible time. And I used to say part-time, but I never could figure out what exactly part-time meant. When I started looking at this, and my first question was whether I'd have time to do it or not, because I had 2 restaurants that I managed. They were 140 miles apart. I had 65 hours on the clock in the restaurants. That doesn't count after closing time, counting money and things like that. That was actual restaurant hours, and it didn't count traveling to and from the 2 restaurants several times a week. I also had a part-time job, and so between all of that, I was working, I'm going to say 80, maybe 90. Some weeks I worked 100 hours, and so so thinking of having something part-time, I couldn't think of what part I would have to have time. And so so when I talked to Dwight, my question was okay, I'm really busy. I don't think I have time. How could I possibly do this? And he said, we'll work it out. And it did. We worked it out. It was because the time is extremely flexible. I have people that I work with in this business that work nights. They go to work at around 5 or 6 at night. They get off in the middle of the night, and and they're able to build their businesses. I've had people that work graveyard. I've had people work the normal 9 to 5. I've had them work at all different hours. I've had people work full-time jobs in the day, part-time jobs at night, still able to build successful businesses because of the flexibility. And it doesn't take that much time to get your business up and running and to maintain it, because everybody is dealing directly with the site. Our business is as a referral to the site. The site actually does the transactions and then puts the account into our account, the money that's owed us, so we can check it at 4:30 in the morning, and it'll tell us within 20 minutes. It'll tell us all of the ordering process that's been done up to that point in the month. Tells us what bracket we're in, and we can convert that to how much money we're going to make, whether we work that day or not. Once you have the process started, it's very flexible to operate and run a successful business. The next thing is that the income involves the internet. And this is the great equalizer. This, for those of you that take a look at people who make a lot of money right now, and people like Bill Gates. Bill Gates is the wealthiest man in the world. But the internet is an equalizer. It means that you and I can participate, and because of the process of duplication and where we perform and where we make our money, we can use the internet as a catalyst to expand our income faster than anything you can imagine, especially if we're selling time. I mean, see, that's what's so great about the internet. It's exploding. It's growing every single day. And yes, we're shaking out the businesses that weren't supposed to be in there to begin with, that that didn't put in the time and money. That's what I love about our involvement here, because when we take a look at the founders of this, the families that put this together, they financed this, and the companies that came on board like IBM, the reality is they put together a unbelievable site. I mean, it's gotten all kinds of awards and recognitions, but when we look at this, you have to understand that we don't have to know everything about the internet. My mom collects money every single month. She gets a nice big check that puts her in about the top, I'm going to say 7 or 8% income level in the United States in active income, not counting the fact it's all passive for her. And so she's sitting in an ideal situation. She still doesn't know how to get to the site by herself. Matter of fact, she's even when we show her how to get to the site, she says, "I'll just call, thank you." All right, and that's fine. She calls up, checks her PV, and so look at these. This is the standard equipment for our vehicle to get to financial freedom. Now, just for a second, let's just compare. All right? Take the best thing you got going in the room. Your best job, your best business, whatever you've got going for you. Let's compare a few things. Is your income source unlimited? Probably not. Is it passive? Probably not. Is it transferable? Can you transfer your income to someone else? No, probably not. Is it global? Is it inflation proof and recession proof? Is it, especially in the business arena, is it low cost and low maintenance? I mean, even for the person who works for somebody else, is there a mechanic in the room? Somebody that's a mechanic? Are you a mechanic, sir? What type of mechanic are you? Auto mechanic. Do you own your own tools? And did you have to own those tools for you to apply? In other words, do you work for someone else? And they expect for you to own your own tools? Oh yeah. Could you give me an idea of how much those tools cost? About 30 or 40,000. And is it? I mean, there's very few mechanics that actually can work for somebody else without owning their own tools. I mean, there's not very many. Sorry. Just the post office, that's right. Okay, so that's scary. All right. So now, taking that into consideration, I did a little homework, all right? And what I did was I went to the internet and I looked up some information about our education process, because we have a very high standard of education. How many of you in the room have heard someone say, you know, if you get more education, you'll make more money? Have you heard that? Some of you might even have said that. All right, the reality is that education can prepare us for a better position of selling our time. But there is no education course, there is no university in the United States that has a course in financial freedom. Not one. There is nothing even close to it. They have no courses in attitude. They have no courses in success orientation. You know, there's no such thing as how to be successful 101 at a university. What it teaches us information that we study, and many times we don't even directly apply. But we get our degree and we take that degree and we're able to acquire a position where we will be trained in that position. That's the reality of a college education. I'm not trying to take anything away from a college education. Now, let's take a look at some things here. What I did was I went and got this information. The average tuition for a public university in the United States is $8,470. And that's the average. Now that's public. Private is $22,541. This is per year. Now a teacher will graduate after 4 years, looking at a 4-year curriculum, with an average starting income of $28,000 a year. That's what a teacher actually starts with a 4-year graduate in education. An engineer, someone who's graduating with an engineering degree on a 4-year degree, average starting income is $40,600. Now here's an interesting one. The average lawyer after a 7-year degree, average starting income is $30,000 a year. Only $2,000 more than the teacher with 3 years more education. 27% of college students drop out. I don't think that's surprising. Research tracks a 4-year degree up to 6 years. Now that one threw me. I was trying to find out how many people graduate late. They don't even track it 4 years. They take a 4-year degree and track it at 6 years. So they give them an extra 2 years to graduate, and even then, research only shows that 43% don't graduate within 6 years. Now that's not including the 27% that dropped out. 30% of the ones who do graduate don't get jobs in their major after graduating. All right? So now I took those statistics and I started calculating them out. Thus, statistics show only 30% of students entering college graduate within 6 years, spending between $34,000 to $50,000 to get a job, averaging $30,000 a year. Right? And 50% of them finance their education with student loans. Therefore, 15% start work within 6 years without debt. In other words, of every 100 people that enter a college that do graduate, only 15% of them actually finish without debt. Right? Now, obviously, this won't change in the future. I mean, a lot of people say, well, yeah, but incomes are going to increase and so forth. The reality is so is the cost of tuition. Now, I didn't mention housing, I didn't mention books, I didn't mention the laptop computers they have to buy and all the accessories. I'm talking strictly tuition. Now let's take a look at a comparison. If we were to look at the entities of our business concept here, I'm going to diagram them. When I say diagram, I'm going to make pictures on the board, which again, you'll have to use your imagination. But let's take a look at this real quickly. I'm going to start with a funnel. I represent this as our order consolidation service. I call it an order consolidation service because Kurt Salmon in 1994 wrote an article about the future. This was even before we had the internet to use, and e-commerce hadn't even started yet in this country. What they said was, is in the future, more and more people would use order consolidation services to get their goods and services. Now, what is an order consolidation service?